Hi, a new film I watched recently, my first film of 2022 with one or two changes, is Munich, The Edge of War, based on the novel by Robert Harris. It weaves a fictional espionage story into the true story of the summit meeting between Hitler and Neville Chamberlain, the British Prime Minister, in 1938, which handed over control of the Sudetenland, part of then Czechoslovakia, to the control of Germany, which in return averted war for at least a year and was able to allow more time for the UK to prepare for conflict. But in amidst this element, we have a spy story about information regarding Hitler's plans for Europe being smuggled out of the country by various civil servants who knew each other from having been at Oxford together years earlier. Um, I had a number of reservations about the film. Harris's work, I've read one or two of his books, and his background in journalism means he writes a very good pacey thriller. His best known work remains Fatherland, an alternate history novel imagining a German-controlled Europe in 1964, which is gradually discovering through a series of assassinations the truth of what happened to the Jews. But this falls short. Firstly, and this may be a spoiler, but it's significant enough, I think, to warrant mentioning. The film is guilty of one of the most lazy tropes, I think, in thriller writing, which is treating a female character as disposable in order to motivate a male character. What's known apparently as fridging, after a particular comic story killed off the hero's love interest and the murder having stuffed her body into a fridge, so that the character exists solely as a plot token, not as a character in her own right, and exists entirely to motivate the hero through her death to then become an instrument of revenge. That is the German civil servant's motivation for betraying his Hitlerian beliefs. I had other reservations about the film. There are notable anachronisms. Um, in the film, one of the Downing Street aides is black, which might be true, but it seems highly unlikely for 1938. In the same way, one of the typists in the typing pool is Asian. Again, possible, but I don't think so. Um, there are other anachronisms in the story as well. MI6 is referred to by name, even though it didn't have that particular name yet, although it existed as the secret intelligence agency. Um, and the film's portrayal of Chamberlain is vague and unfocused. You're not sure whether or not you're supposed to see him as a gullible dupe of Hitler, believing his claims that he has no further territorial claims in Europe, even though there is evidence being presented that is not the case, or if he actually is masterminding a deliberate scheme to sacrifice the Sudetenland to allow Britain to prepare for war in a year's time. Um, there was one other element which I thought of before I started recording, and now I can't remember what it is, but I'm sure it'll come back to me. Um, I just found it to be somewhat unconvincing and unengaging. Um, the other problem was the portrayal of Hitler himself. Um, Ulrich Matters, the actor cast, is a very fine actor, but he looks nothing like Hitler. He's far too small, he has the wrong build, and it does look as though his costume was made for someone else because it does look very baggy and poorly fitting. Matters has previously played Himmler and physically is a much better match for that, but he's not a good fit for Hitler. He doesn't capture what he looks like, he doesn't capture his voice, he certainly doesn't capture his charisma, for want of a better phrase, the way he could control a room almost effortlessly. Um, so it's not a strong film. I found it to be poorly thought out on a scripting level. The acting is adequate. Jeremy Irons makes for a fine Chamberlain. George MacKay, as the British side of the espionage connection, reprises his look of goggle-eyed bewilderment from 1917. But given good material, he's a fine actor. Even Anjali Mohindra, as the aforementioned Asian typist, is, again, a fine actor delivering a good performance, but just, as far as I'm aware, historically wrong. Maybe the film is accurate, I don't know, but it doesn't seem as though it probably is. I think having a blockade in um, Downing Street spoiled that element. But overall, it has significant enough problems to outweigh any superficial entertainment that it offered. There is a film version of Fatherland made for television with Rutger Hauer, which was impressive, and a televised version of his novel Archangel, a present-day thriller about Stalin's potential successors, and that was made for the BBC in, I think, 2004 and starred Daniel Craig, and that's worth seeing if you get the chance. But of the three Harris adaptations I've seen to date, this is by far the weakest. It's not a particularly good film. The production is of a good quality, but the script is weak, and the direction is focused and lacking in rigour. And as a result, I couldn't recommend it. And I would say that 2022, on this level, is not off to the best start that it could have.